Hi, welcome to the Chicken Chess Club analysis of game number 6 of the World Championship match. Liren down 3-2 going into this game. Now with the white pieces, has to try to win this one, to even the scores. Laurent is here, no Peters. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. Peter Heine is traveling, and yeah, we decided to do a show without Peters. I mean, too many Peters these days. Maybe we can do a only Peter show as well later on, but today it's only the great friendship between France and Germany.
Yeah, always important to keep the Franco-German relations alive. Peter, while he's traveling, he's thinking about moves for Magnus. Huh? We should mention.
Yeah, and actually, today to come back to chess, we saw one of the pets opening of Magnus, and yesterday as well, which yeah, we will see yesterday as well. It was Spanish with 63, which have been one of the main weapon of Magnus over the years, where when he wants to avoid actually both openings is when you want to avoid a heavy theoretical debate. Just play chess. And so today we saw d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, and the great move, bishop f4, London system. I never played it in a classical game, but time will come. Yeah, we are still too young for that. I still feel too young.
I never played it either. It never felt serious somehow, but it's time to accept the new reality. Even Giri played in Düsseldorf. It's a thing. The London system is here to stay.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and of course, Nepo must have made. Even if I don't think it was likely from Magnus in 2021. Magnus played it so much that you need a good solution against it. I was a bit surprised. I thought that Nepo would choose something more forcing, but I don't know how forcing is. Yeah, no, I mean something like okay, c5. This I did expect. e3, knight c6. And after knight b2, here you have many choices as black, like knight h5, for instance, or queen b6, which is incredibly after knight b2.
Yeah, we'll get that.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that here, knight b2,
sure.
of course, is the precise move order. Most beginners that learn the London system, they play c3 here, but then after queen to b6, white is not on time, and after queen to b3, c4, this is how you see a lot of blitz games on the internet go. Now black is already in good shape after queen b6, a b6, or queen to c2, bishop to f5, typical trick. So it's very important to start with knight b2, which I guess Magnus to some extent pioneered. At least he played it a lot, mainly in rapid and blitz, though. I'm not sure it was ever a big topic for the World Championship matches. But as you said, I was also slightly surprised that actually neither of the guys seemed to be that well prepared in this.
Yeah. I think, as far as I remember, this knight b2 was shown to Magnus by maybe. We saw some rumors on Twitter. I saw you. I guess you saw as well by Nepo head coach Vladimir Kramnik in a training match in 2015. They played a rapid match before the World Rapid and Blitz in Berlin, and I recall very clearly that Vladimir was playing London system, and Magnus thought, "Oh, okay, it was good. Let me try that." And then he won basically. He won a lot of games thanks to it. And this knight b2 is an important nuance. And yeah, as you've shown, queen b6. Now you don't have queen b3 anymore, but you take on c5, queen b2. There's a lot of theory. It's very, very direct. And as always, I mean, if you know what you are doing as black, you always have a solution. So yeah, I was expecting something like that on knight h5, something much more forcing than what Nepo played. So it came as a surprise. This cd bishop f5.
Yeah, this is a setup you can play without too much theory, but generally releasing the tension in the center slightly favors white. You get the infamous Carlsbad structure, which they got out of a different opening in game number 3 already, where Ding also seemed to be doing okay, just understanding the structures. Yeah, it took me a long time to come around to believing that this could be something for white, because it feels like, okay, the bishop is out, how bad can it be? But these positions aren't so easy. After all these games, Magnus played, Kamsky played. Very often, white gets a little something, and this good old plan we learned as kids, you don't see very often materializing.
Yeah, exactly. And c3 is actually not forced at all. Actually, it's the main move, I think. So the main question, according to is bishop b5 here, which it could get sharp, yeah, because you go some queen b6, c4, and suddenly we get the sharp game. Maybe that was what the hope of Nepo. That would be my guess, that after bishop b5, you had some nice prep. But definitely after c3, e6, a small point. After c3, e6, queen b3, here attacking on b7 is not really, it's well known for blacks that bishop d6. Yeah, this is a pawn sacrifice, which is incredibly dangerous for white. Takes bishop f4, queen c6, king f8, and yeah, we were checking that back in already a long time ago, and yeah, it was never very appealing for white, because black gets all the fun. Here you will play rook b8, g6, king g7, and you get a lot of play. So yeah, Ding he started to think a little bit, which was weird, but he said he decided right before the game. Actually, I watched the press conference. Right before the game, he didn't know what to play, which sounds a bit crazy in a World Championship match where you are supposed to prepare for the last 6 months, but he didn't know what to play. And he felt that he should play a position where he's very comfortable. So this Carlsbad structure, he has much more experience than Nepo here.
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed to get the Carlsbad structure when you play the London. As we mentioned, there are many very sharp options along the way. I don't understand that whole operation. He's just hang out with Richie, they listen to their music, and then, okay, what do we do today? Yeah, maybe London.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It worked well today, but it felt like he was improvising at this point already from the time use, which was surprising, but probably he knew something. Bishop b5, I guess, is the critical move. As you mentioned, queen b3, you don't do. Bishop d6, this was still played quickly by Nepomniachtchi. Takes, castles. Rook to e1. We get a very typical structure. You also get out of this Caro-Kann, where white has this square. And yeah, I think this is more easier to play for white. It took me a while. I used to think black is completely fine in these positions, but I no longer think so. And it felt like Team Nepomniachtchi, they hadn't taken it too seriously either, because the moves he starts making here, they don't really feel so much on point. Not that the position is so simple, but it felt like he was drifting a little bit already starting here.
Yeah, it's one of the many things I learned from Magnus. This good Carlsbad, which at the start puzzled me a bit. But yeah, I kind of felt, and yeah, now I understand. A few years later, I see his point, because the computer is showing 010, 020, 00, whatever. You simply don't get it. But you get to ask questions as white, and this is already an achievement.
Yeah, it's not so clear what black should do here. If you ask the bishop, then I guess he takes b takes c is usually a strategic mistake, weakening these squares. White can go b4, then bring the knight. And if queen takes, okay, it's not exactly much, but there is sometimes some play on the king side. Computer was even starting to give some g4 ideas here. So the position is not so simple. Nepomniachtchi plays h6, which I guess is all right. My computer was giving moves like knight e7 or knight a5.
I mean, to be fair, h6 is, I mean, it's okay, but I think it's a poor move. Because knight h4 is not even a threat. You always go bishop g4. So, I mean, I don't see what's the point of. It's some routine move, which shows that Nepo, and we'll see more of it later in the game, is not very inspired in such positions. That's why, and I thought he understood it, and that he would choose for something more dynamic, but he didn't, which is weird to me. So I don't know. It's a first step in the wrong direction. I would say h6. Even if you take it as a single move, it's completely fine, of course.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but I agree with the verdict. It felt like it's not his type of position. He was being a little superficial, making some moves based on general considerations, and got into some trouble quite quickly. 95 played. Now this is threatening to take here. So this knight had to move. Knight to e7. Pawn to a4. Also typical Kamsky-Carlsen style, fighting against this a6, b5.
Taking
And
some
pawn to
space.
a6.
Yeah,
Yep.
sometimes you go a4, a5 as well as white. You take some space, you know. There's no hurries. You just wait for for the opponent to collapse, yeah, basically, yeah, to get annoyed at you and to make something dynamic.
Pawn to a6 played, already very committal, looks normal enough, kicking the bishop back. But now you have to start worrying about this pawn arriving here, freezing your queenside. That's what happens. I'm not sure what black should do. My computer was giving some concrete stuff, queen b6, and then trying to play a5 or even a5 directly.
Yeah.
That's, of course, also an ugly move.
We should show that idea, which is very well known. After a4, a5 by black, now you can go knight b1 here, and knight a3, knight b5. Of course, black can take on b1, but still you give the bishop.
Always worse.
Yeah, always. I don't know how much was, but yeah, was for sure. So I guess he didn't like that, and it's obviously a very typical stuff. Even we saw that in this Slav a6. It used to exist in the early 2000s or late 90s. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, already a tough choice for black, actually.
Yeah, already in an unpleasant position because of h6, a6, some general consideration moves. He goes knight d7, trying to exchange this knight, but now he gets fixed. Ding takes and plays a5. This position is so dangerous strategically. I'm not sure how bad it is, but once the knight sits here, then white can just lock up the queen side and slowly but surely start attacking on the king side in whatever way he sees fit. I think it's already bad. I'm not sure how bad, but it's certainly very worrying for black.
Yeah, it's very worrying, but as usual, the computer managed to defend. But yeah, from a strategical point of view, it's already incredibly risky. And he plays queen c7, also a very concrete move, because after knight b3, which was the idea, knight c6, and I hit your pawn on a5 twice, and you don't have knight c5. So again, I guess Nepo was banking everything on that. Of course, you can also knight on c6 is very well placed, because then you will have some counterplays with e6, e5, which is the only way to get counterplay as black. But here, Ding shows his class with the next move, which is very, very nice. Queen f3, protecting c3, so sometimes you have b4, and you can go then knight b3, knight c5. Also, queen g3 is in the air, and with some miserable, probably defensible endgame for black, but quite miserable. We'll see later that Nepo just declined to defend that endgame.
Yeah, it's a sad position. I'm not sure where this knight should be going. There's no great advice. You could make a case for putting the knight here and trying to sit, but the white knight would then, of course, come to this square, which is much more powerful. So black already in some strategic trouble, but Nepomniachtchi keeps making, sort of normal moves as if nothing happened. Rook f8, trying to stop b4. Now Ding went very subtle with rook to a3. I'm not sure, maybe it's a little too subtle. Computer was getting this move, which you could argue is subtle as well. Just covering the pawn and preparing to expand here. Also making sure there's no bishop c2, which looked a bit simpler in a way, because the rooks stay connected, so it's easier to react to any black activity.
But I mean, your point is perfectly valid. But on the other hand, I guess he saw some scenario with rook a3, knight b3, knight e5, rook b3. And the rook on a3, you make an argument that it goes to b3 as well, hitting on b7, which is the main weakness in black position. So it also makes sense. Actually, more fan of rook a3 than rook c1. I can imagine myself playing rook a3. I mean, I'm not sure I will go b3 later, but it's an extra idea. The rook stays on e1, controls the e file, and e5 will be much more difficult to achieve for black. So it gives less counterplay in my opinion. But yeah, it's a matter of taste, I guess.
Yeah, Nepomniachtchi goes bishop g6, which is another half waiting, slightly random move. More precise seemed to be bishop c2, trying to fight against knight b3. And now if the rook goes here, now we go to g6, and now we can argue the white rooks are a little misplaced to fight against this move e5. For example, knight b3. Now there's knight c6 and e5 is looming. So I think he could have made life a little more difficult for Ding. But he just plays bishop g6, and the Ding knight is on the way.
Yeah, I mean, so even it becomes we'll say that all kind of tricks, let's say knight c6, let's show queen g3. We get the same position, let's say queen e7, and now, yeah, of course you can take on, we'll come back to that, but if queen e7, knight c5, and now you understand that, let's say knight c5 here, and with the rook on c1, there is no tricks here. You have some tricks with knight take e6. We'll see later, even it's with h4, h5. So of course the rook on c1 was misplaced, and you had to provoke that with bishop c2. But yeah, something very interesting happened with queen g3, offering a queen trade. And as we said, probably it's foldable for black, I guess.
I think it's bad. I'm not sure how bad, but the
Yeah.
end game looks terrible as well.
You put
Knight
the
jumps
on
here, and then we start grabbing space everywhere and prepare a breakthrough somewhere, either b5, c4, b3, c4. Maybe we don't need b4. Looks very unpleasant.
You wouldn't take on g3, or you would?
I don't know. I would try not to end up in this position. I don't think there are great choices anymore.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But Nepomniachtchi keeps playing for small tricks with queen e7. His point is if knight c5, now he can go knight takes a5, rook a5, b6. But that's nothing. Ding misses. Yeah, Ding had a choice here how to prepare knight c5, but I like the move he played.
Yeah.
He goes to h4.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Introducing some tactics later with h5. And also just a generally useful move, grabbing some space, stopping queen g5, making a luft. And it's very hard to stop this knight from arriving here.
It's a high-class move, for sure. Yeah, I really like. He thought for a while here, and he came up with a very, very nice solution. Now it's very difficult for black.
1 point is after knight c5 here. This is the game. Now this tactic no longer works. Knight takes a5, rook takes a5, b6. Because of some beautiful line. Pawn to h5.
Yeah, maybe you should start with h5 actually, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Bishop takes and knight takes e6. Threatening checkmate. That's why he went h4, so he can dislodge this bishop from g6. Black has to take, and rook takes d5. Crashing. E takes d5 doesn't work because you take queen h4.
Yeah, this is a nice little trick, which shows why h4 actually was played. Amongst all other factors, but there is also a tactical explanation for this move h4.
Yeah, not sure I had to calculate all that. Of course, it's a useful move in general, but I also made sure his knight arrived here. Nepomniachtchi, I guess, is also typical for his style. He doesn't want to wait passively, which is not much fun either for white to improve slowly here. He goes for counterplay with e5. Now Ding also decides to force the issue, which I wasn't sure about, because you can just play the position with pawn to b4, go for nothing forcing, and it looks extremely bad for black as well.
Yeah, I kind of during the game I would have probably played like, because after e4 I find it then you think, and we know fortunately we know the evaluation during the game, but f3 I would never do. No way. Yeah, exactly. You have 4 against 3. You don't play here, but it's very concrete because this pawn e4 will just fall. I guess you just play ok2, k2, and it's very difficult. I would consider a move on the queen side here instead of f3. I was looking at that position without computer. I thought b5 looks tempting, but probably not so good. Just takes and rook c8 or something. And suddenly it doesn't look so clear to me. So I don't know. I wouldn't let this e4 stuff. Of course, when you think about it, the knight on c6 is very far from everywhere. We are used to this knight on c6 in the Spanish, who is not doing much. And here it's really where do you go with your knight? So f3 was the key move here, and I don't think it's an easy decision with your king. It's very concrete. It's very concrete. I wouldn't to be frank, I wouldn't even consider f3 in that position. To be very honest.
I think Chose is even more concrete, and he's also a concrete player. He's very much a calculator, and he goes for direct tactics. Rook takes b3, which keeps his advantage intact here. You could debate where it's bigger, but rook b3 isn't spoiling anything. Just the one worry for Ding fans here was that he is spending a lot of time on these decisions. He wasn't in time trouble or anything, but you could see he was hesitating, and it could end up being time that he would need later to calculate. But for now, it keeps the pressure. It attacks this pawn. If black defends it passively, then the rook sits here, and this is, I guess, game over almost already.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I agree with you. The time spent, but we felt the same. Actually, I felt the same. I think we learned that in Dubai. Magnus was taking a lot of time while Nepo was at the end. Okay, at the start he was taking a bit of his time, but at the end he was really blitzing out his games. But Nepo is playing so fast, so that's why I don't think that Ding is particularly slow, but one gets the impression that he's incredibly slow because Nepo is playing so incredibly fast and taking some major decision in like 2-3 minutes where you have to sit and calculate. So yeah, that's the problem of Nepo style as well. That we'll see later. He's taking some incredible decisions so quickly, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it's a disaster.
Yeah, it's the usual. Has pros and cons. Puts a lot of pressure on the opponent, but it can also lead to some mistakes sometimes. So he takes only move, covering this pawn, but giving the e-pawn, of course. Rook takes e5, queen f6.
The only move.
Once again, the queen has to get out of the way. Rook a3, another move that took Ding a long time, but the best move apparently. Knight to c4 was blitzed out. Fairly forced sequence. This knight has to go, and the pawn on b7 is weak. There's no time for moves like b6, because this knight would reshuffle here, and everything would be hanging. Like this is just terrible for black.
Yeah, before it's coming, a6 is hanging. Knight, bishop on g6. I mean, it's just terrible position actually for black. So he's playing this very, but still as fast as ever. No worries. I don't know if he said in the press conference he thought he was slightly worse, but holdable. I don't know if it's still holdable, objectively speaking. But yeah, no worries. He just keeps on playing fast.
Yeah, Ding takes. This is an easy decision. Now he goes for pawn to h5, which again took him quite some time. There was a better way here, according to the computer, but I found it very hard to evaluate, so I'm not surprised he didn't go for it. The computer line is takes, queen b6. This, of course, I calculated. Knight d6, queen takes b2. And apparently after rook a5, white is just much better. Which, yeah, I didn't find so obvious.
No, it's not obvious at all.
It looks like white is breaking through it. But to find this move and then to evaluate it is almost winning for white. I understand it's difficult.
No, the only way you can understand it is that you have this e6 break extra without the playing h5, because h5 the bishop will have to move and you don't have e6 anymore. But it's so difficult that h5 looks good as well to be frank here. Yeah, bishop d3 for instance.
For example, here king h2 and
yeah, what's going on after queen
takes knight f5. It's a lot of very random tactics. So I don't think we can blame Ding for not going for this. However, after h5, he does allow Nepomniachtchi a small tactic, which Nepomniachtchi also doesn't spot. So Nepomniachtchi playing quickly had its drawbacks here, because this might be a bit hidden, but I think it's by far the best black chance. Rook takes e5, d takes e, and queen to d8. And it's the type of thing I thought he could see on it.
Yeah, but let's show that. Yeah, this is very beautiful.
It's either a perpetual
Yeah,
or
if you
queen
go queen
h3.
f3, yeah, exactly.
Takes, and black is back in business.
I think queen f3, queen d2 is very hard to spot, actually. Because queen f3, you may see that, but then queen f3, okay, controls d1 square, protects the h5 pawn, and you may be very tempted to stop, because if you move the bishop, then I take on b7 with the knight, I go to d6, and it's game over, basically. But here you have to spot one more star move, which is queen d2, threatening queen e1, queen e5. I don't know how tough is that. I guess very much so. So yeah, let's say I take on g6, queen e1, king h2. Yeah, that line, queen e5. Even that is not so easy to evaluate. But the rook on a3 is actually out of the play. So you take on f7, but it's not such a big deal because the rook on a3 is really far away from the action.
Yeah, white is still better here. No, and I agree it's a tough line. But in general, he had a lot of time, and it didn't look like he was particularly worried or looking for chances. He just kept making sort of normal moves, but the position is dangerous. He goes bishop c2.
No, also another move I would like to mention is bishop d3, which, to be honest, I mean the computer line, which is b2 b4. I mean, which is the only refutation of bishop d3. I mean, I don't think you think one of them saw it. I wouldn't think so. To understand, you have to play b4 here. I mean, while you can take on b7. Of course, it protects the b2 pawn, because if you take on b7, then and it's also nice to have the bishop,
Such a pleasant move to play. I think if you see it, yeah, you can play it.
Yeah, because of course you cannot take let's show quickly why you cannot take on d3. Because simply if you take on e8 first, then I have rook e1 and all sort of back rank counterplay. And if you don't take on d3, then you don't win a pawn. I mean, so it's because after knight b7, I just go queen b6, queen takes b2. And now it's a major difference with a bishop on d3, which is protected. On c2, it's always hanging in the air. While it's always nice, it's like this defensive setup when you are exchanged down in endgames. If your bishop is protected, then it's you have much more chances to save the game. You don't have to worry about him. So I don't know. Bishop d3 is a big option, and he played. Let me see. I like this. He plays bishop c2 in 5 minutes. While, I mean, rook e5 and bishop d3 were big moves. So, and he had plenty of time, obviously, on the clock. So yeah, again, a poor decision.
Yeah. Now Ding kept spending time, but he kept making good moves for a while here. Knight takes b7. Now he has to take the pawn. And queen b6. Okay, black needs some counterplay. Knight d6 is the tactic that it all hinges on. You can't take because we win the queen. So he took, and here I wasn't sure if pawn takes or queen takes would happen, but Ding found the best move again.
Yeah,
queen
it's amazing. And I would actually, for sure take with a pawn. For the very same reason, I would play bishop d3, because the knight there is now
protected. Your pieces protected.
Yeah, not to lose them. I think this is the intuitive move, but queen e5 is just because there is this knight e8 trick. It's just it's pure calculation, and you have to go queen e5 because there is this knight e8 will show queen b2, queen c3, queen b2, k5, and after queen c3, there is knight e8, which is a very nice tactic. Yeah, you just take here, and you will collect the rook with check. Actually, king g7, queen b7. Yeah. And yeah, chess is a concrete game. So d5 looks beautiful, but queen e5 just works because you are threatening knight e8, and that's a key factor in the position.
Yeah, Ding had done almost all the hard work here, finding this move. Nepomniachtchi plays king h7, which is the best defense. Gotta give him some credit here as well, of course. His instincts are still very good. You still have to beat him. And now Ding running a little short on time. This is move 32. Makes a mistake in computer language. Natural move, rook c5, trying to activate the rook. But this gives black some chances. Well, the best move to play apparently was the very passive queen to e1. But it's basically just a double attack. You're attacking both pawns covering yours, and black doesn't have much.
Yeah, but this is so incredibly difficult because you have to see that after bishop d3. Okay, I don't know if it's that difficult, but after bishop d3, actually, it doesn't protect the pawn because knight takes e4 and then queen e4. So yeah, again, you cannot. I don't think you can blame Ding on rook c5, especially after seeing the defense. Actually, I was toying a bit here with my engine because I didn't understand first rook c5 here, and you have to. Another mistake by Nepo played very quickly. You have to go queen takes c3.
Yeah, this one I thought this was
It's incredible.
maybe even more serious. I mean, it's not easy, but it's the only chance, no? Because the way he played looks pretty bad as well.
Yeah, but you have to find only moves like knight
Okay.
after knight
Very
f7.
quickly.
It's just bishop d3 is only move. Now I go rook c7. I would be very tempted to stop here. Queen c1, king h2, rook e8 only move. I mean that's and after queen g3.
Is rook 8 only move?
Yeah, I checked it. Yeah, it's just yeah, because you're just so rook e8 is the only move here. And after queen g3, you have some. So if queen takes e8, of course, you have this perpetual with queen f4. So rook e8 is incredibly difficult because you're a bit worried about your g7 pawn, some discovery. And after queen g3, yeah, you just go rook e1. I think again, again, basically is the only move, and everything is fine. And nothing is happening on g7. Yeah, so to me, I can understand you stop. You have to find bishop d3, which protects the pawn. You don't care about the attack. And this rook e8 move. So it's incredibly difficult. I'm not sure. I think it's just. I mean, at least with the time he spent, with the time he's spending on his moves, I mean, he has no way he can find bishop d3 rook e8.
Well, he's allowed to spend more time. I don't know. Yeah, it's always tough to see once you saw the computer line. But what he does in the game looks completely lost. So I think you have to try some concrete stuff, and he's an amazing calculator. And so
no, he considers. I think his reasoning was that if he lose the f7 pawn, if knight x7 happens, and I would think the same, that rook c7 happens, and then I would just get mated. But of course, it's a World Championship match, and you are supposed to be more concrete than that. But it's very scary, and sometimes he relies a bit too much on his intuition, I guess.
Yeah, no, the problem is if you leave this structure intact, most endgames are even lost. White can just win without anything special. So yeah, to me it looked like grab, close your eyes, hope for the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes queen c1 check, king h2 f6. Now Ding has some easy moves to play. Queen to g3. Of course, you go here, covering these squares, still preparing rook c7 if need be. Nepomniachtchi pushes the pawn. And this, I think, was the last difficult moment for Ding. And to his credit here, he finds the way to do it. He goes knight takes c4. The move itself might not be difficult, but he had to understand he can let the a pawn run, and also that he needs the knight here to block the black queen out of the defense. And yeah, I think from here on, Ding just calculated everything perfectly.
Yeah, the option, the other option was rook c7, which I wasn't plugged at that point. I was not sure takes and knight c4. It looked, of course, yeah, knight c4, bishop b3, let's say bishop knight a3, and yeah, I didn't know how to evaluate that actually. But yeah, you definitely have winning chances as white. Is it winning or not? I have no clue. But
no, but what he did is just so much stronger. I don't think it was so easy.
Yeah,
his a pawn looks a little scary.
Yeah, and a4 93. Yeah, cutting.
Yeah, this is the star move, cutting out queen g5, and he calculated that this pawn is not in time. Here, rook g8, and now a3 wasn't played in the game. But yeah, now there are different options. Knight d5 is the strongest, but I think rook a7, you're also more or less winning.
Yeah.
Instead, Nepomniachtchi played bishop b1, dreaming of preparing this march of the a pawn, but he's nowhere near in time. Rook c7 threatens checkmate. Rook g8 forced. Knight to d5, threatening to take here. King h8 forced. Rook a7, I also like computers giving some other moves, but it's so natural to stop the pawn. It's not spoiling anything. Pawn to a3. This move 39, so this was move 40, reaching the time control. I would have gone for the endgame, of course, here, queen f4.
You know what I would have done probably? I would have just repeated the moves maybe. Can I? After knight
Yeah, I
e7?
think this was smart. I thought that was what he wanted to do, just repeat moves and then
Yeah,
after the time control, think.
Yeah, exactly. Because rook f8, if you go back, knight d5, I mean, you didn't. You cannot go queen g5, yeah, because the pawn on a3 is hanging, so the endgame is completely lost. So worst case scenario, he has to play rook g8, and then you think. So this is an excellent move 40. So you don't spoil anything for sure, and then you have time to think. But you have time to think and to find a clear way to finish the game.
Yeah, if you made it till here in the video, the finale really is worth watching. White has many ways to win. Knight d5, as mentioned, is fine. Knight g6 check is also winning. Takes, and this queen is too powerful. There were also some more computerish lines, like I think rook to b7, which here, of course, you don't think about moving the rook away.
Yeah,
is winning a2 and rook to b8 and the back crank. Trouble is there. Let me just show this because it's
that's beautiful. Yeah.
And checkmate.
Okay. I thought rook
h8.
Yeah, I thought rook h8 was coming, so I was
nice.
kind of shocked. But this is a nice one. Yeah, this is typical. Yeah, this is nicer.
A rook b7, I don't think is a human move. You have your rook. You just put it behind the a pawn. But Ding found an incredibly beautiful finish. And let's explain. So he was considering the line queen to c7 here, threatening knight g6, followed by queen g7. Black's only move is king h7, so knight g6 not a check. Then he was thinking about knight g6, hits the rook, rook to g8, and probably something like queen to f7 here. But he realized there's no threat yet, queen g5, if he were to take.
Yeah, it's
the king runs away. And this move, king e6, explains Ding's move in the position we have here. He plays the amazing move d5. It's not to queen the d pawn, but just to cover this square. Nepomniachtchi, once again, he's lost, but didn't look like he thought much about d5. He just thought, okay, yeah, push his pawn. Plays a2 after, very little time.
2 minutes and 12 seconds.
He had an hour and a half on his clock.
Yeah, and 2 minutes and 12 seconds while I guess he was not sitting at the board. So the time to come back to hide on the move. So, I mean, it's just splitting out.
And now we see Ding's point, as explained by the line earlier. He goes queen c7, threatening checkmate. King h7 forced. Knight g6, threatening checkmate once again. Rook g8 forced. And queen f7, the finish. And the point is that there's no way to stop the threat of queen takes g8, king g8, rook a8 check, king f7, rook f8 checkmate, or king h7, rook h8 checkmate.
Let's show why bishop takes g6. It's also another beautiful mate. Yeah, back crank, which also very beautiful. Yeah,
beautiful finish by Ding Liren, who spent a lot of time, but overall played a nice game. The opening choice turned out to be inspired. He got a position on the board, which Nepomniachtchi didn't feel like too comfortable playing. You could criticize this CD4 decision with hindsight because he defines the structure and it didn't look like he was too at home there. Made some small inaccuracies outside of the opening here with, I guess, h6, a6. But the position is already not so easy to play. And then ended up in real big trouble. Missed his two best chances to defend down the stretch. One of those being, this tactic, rook takes e5. I already needed to find some miracle tactics to stay in the game, followed by queen d8. And then the last chance, in my opinion,
was queen takes e3.
Queen takes
yeah,
e3,
good, but I understand your reasoning here. No, it makes sense. That's okay. Because if you don't take on c3, it's true.
You just lose.
So all the end games are lost. And if you get mated, you get mated anyway. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Now, my take on the last couple of games, that there's one big winner. One big winner.
Or
I
you,
think-
you were gonna say Magnus, yeah? Like,
Yeah, the big winner is Magnus because
okay,
he could have won both games as white, but as black, I'm sorry, he never lost like this in a World Championship match. You cannot imagine him losing on the black side of both games in this London system, where you see after the position after move 15 in both games. I can't imagine him being outplayed like that. So the level of defense is clearly not what we are used in World Championship match involving Magnus.
yeah, but no one was arguing before the match that Magnus is not the best player. We all know. I mean, he chose not to play, so the two guys are playing, and they're giving us an amazing show. I agree, the level of defense is not what we've seen in the last matches, but I'm very entertained.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's nice. It's nice in a way. No, it's nice, and yeah, no, okay. It was just because both openings actually are Magnus. He likes it with as white. So yeah, I thought he could have played both games, but as black, I mean, it's really poor games from black side. Now everything to play for. Nepo looked very annoyed to me in the press conference. It's a second loss, after his leading. Will he tilt?
He looked mildly tilted today, actually. I mean, he won the last round, but he made his decisions very quickly, like playing moves, and it felt a little off today because also the moves weren't there. But maybe he just got a bit unlucky with the structure. He wasn't feeling so much. We'll see. We can predict 80% for Ding again. Yesterday was 80 for Nepo.
I think that's, of course, Nepo is has more chances to tilt, but on the other hand, I mean, his openings, Ding's opening are just, we saw yesterday and today. I mean, will he be so lucky as white as he was today? Because now he has to change again. So, he will run out of ideas at some point. Maybe he already does. So, that's going to be complicated. And as black, any line by white in this Spanish seems to be a surprise for him. So, doesn't look good opening-wise, but I feel he's playing. Yeah, he won't tilt. He won't tilt, but Nepo may. So, let's see.
We'll find out. Thank you so much for watching this video.
Thank you.
See you next time.